Okay, so we want this controller to be rotating in this direction, X, and also in the Z, because you can spread your fingers in this direction, but you can't turn your finger around in this, you can twist it like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we want the X rotation to be connected with the rotation of X in the joints. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the controller, and then we're going to select all the joints we need to control. And whoa, this has a weird orientation. Okay, you can see the orientation on this joint is very weird, so we should fix that first. You want it to be in the right axis as the previous one, and this also has okay, let's try to select all the joints and go to animation, skeleton, orient joint option box. Let's see if we can, it helps a little bit. But now it doesn't really align with the okay, I can see we have a bit of a work here. So let's select all the joints again with these settings, press apply, and let's see if okay, this is weird, because this has the okay. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate this a bit up so it fits. This is not the ideal solution, but that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna do that for, you should obviously do that for the other fingers, but for now I'm just gonna leave it at this one. And now if I rotate X, it rotates the right one and in the right direction with all the joints. But of course you want this rotation to be zeroed out. So yeah, that might be a problem. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, now it got zeros rotation. What about the main joint? It also has. Well, I think it's fine for now. It's the right way now, because yeah, it kind of has the same. Okay, so now we are ready for going into the Hypershade and connecting the controller to the joints. So I'm gonna select all the joints and the controller, and then I'm gonna go into the Hypershade. In the Hypershade, I'm gonna press this little icon to get all the selected stuff. Excuse me. I'm gonna select the first controller, and I'm gonna select the first joint, the second joint, and the third joint. And for this we will need a plus minus average node. I'm gonna select it. If you go to utilities in the outliner, you will find it down here, plus minus average. And in the plus minus average you got some different settings. We will be using the input 3. No, actually I think actually the input yes, we're gonna input let's use input 2D. So if you press add new item, you get a new item, and we'll do that 3 times. and this should be set to average operation. So let's try to middle mouse drag this into the plus minus average, and we're gonna select other. Okay, it says that one or more names matches, so I think that's because we didn't. Let's just rename these. I can see this is renamed, and index, and this should be wing. So it's because I think we renamed the orientation groups, but we didn't rename the joints themselves. I can see this has the exact same name, so this should be a T instead. And then we should be able to middle mouse drag. You want different names for everything because it just makes it easier. And then we want the rotation. Okay. Now that I think about it, I actually think we don't need a plus minus average, but just a multiply divide node. Yes, I'm sorry about that. So if you select a multiply divide node and you middle mouse drag the controller into, you can go down to rotation, and it's the rotation X. So let's put X in the X and close it. In the multiply divide node, you can control what the X should be divided with, and we want it divided by 3. So I'm gonna press 0.333, and then the multiply divide node should be dragged into, with the middle mouse button, the first joint, and we want the output X to go into the rotation X. So now this joint should be rotating a little bit. So you can see how this works. But you still need the multiply divide node to go into the other joints. So I'm just going to do the same thing. X, output X will go into rotation X, and same for the last. Same for the last joint. Output X into rotation X. So let's see how this works. And you can see it doesn't really follow. So a cool thing about this, you can just set this to 1, and let's see. Okay, it works a bit better, but this joint is still weird. Okay, I haven't experienced this before, but it seems like the other two joints are responding correctly, but we still have some issues with the last joint. And if you look at it, you can see that the orientation again is weird. So if you go out here, you can break the connection, and we will try to orient this joint again by going to skeleton, orient joint, and well, okay, this is annoying, but you can see that the rotation axis is pretty weird compared to the other ones. So I think I'm just gonna rotate it back. I can do this again because okay, but also the second one has a bit weird. Okay, so you will need to make sure that the orientation is right. I'm just gonna break the connection on the second one as well, and I'm I'm gonna select these two joints, try to orient the joints, and you can see this isn't really what we want. So this is not the ideal way to do it, but I'm trying to rotate the joints so it fits a bit more nicely. I'm not sure why this ended up happening. Let's try to freeze the transformations, and then it okay. So now it's kind of aligned, and this also. Okay, so I'm gonna try again to make the output of this multiply divide node go into the X rotation of these two. It's a good thing that oh, never mind. So I just did the same thing, and let's hope it works so I don't look like a total idiot on the internet. Yes. What a relief. I think it works better now. Yeah. So the next thing is we wanted to rotate in this axis as well, because you can spread your fingers in that way. So basically I'm gonna use this joint and the controller, sorry, and the controller. I'm gonna middle mouse drag it into the first joint and select the other. I'm gonna scroll down to rotation, and I'm gonna make sure that it's the rotation C, and the rotation C should go into the rotation C of the joint. You can always check just by rotating your joints. And yeah, and then it works. You want this because the other joints in the joint chain in the finger doesn't rotate. It's the main joint that rotates. So this is all good. It's working. Nice. There was a bit of trouble with the orientation. You can obviously go more through the orientation of the joints, because it's very important that it's the right one. And you can see it's kind of screwed on the thumb as well. So I'm gonna select the main joint, and I'm gonna try to orient it. Okay, it says that you can't orient it because it has some transformations. Let's try to freeze the transformations. There you go. And let's try to orient it again. Oy, oy, oy. Okay. So now it kind of has the same orientation. Okay, this is weird. Isn't it weird? Okay, I guess it's because of the gimbal rotation. No? Again, looking like a jerk on the internet. Okay, so anyway, you want this to be aligned with the controller. Actually, you want the exact same orientation on these two. So what we'll need to do is actually to select the orient group again and parent it again to this to make sure it's the right one. But it's the same thing as we did before. If you got time for it, you can do it now. But I'm just gonna connect the controller to the joints. Basically because I don't want this tutorial to take forever. But I'm just gonna make sure that the rotation is the right one. So you can see this can be pretty tricky if you don't got the right rotation. Okay. So this is still a bit weird. So I'm trying to get the joints to be in the middle of the mesh, and the thumb is always tricky. So let's try to freeze the transformations. Let's see. Then the rotation of this one is fucked up. God damn it. Okay, this is really annoying. This is why Maya sometimes screws with you. Okay, so the most important 3 joints are the first 3 joints. I'm not sure why the rotation is acting so weird. It might be because that this joint doesn't really have a child that it can get the rotation order from, because this joint is controlling so many joints. It might be that is the issue, but obviously you want the orientation and stuff to be correct when you make the skeleton. So you might be lucky that your rotation order is fine and the axis, but I'm not. So that's a big bummer. I'm gonna freeze the. Okay, let's hope. And then this is fucked up. Okay. Also, it doesn't align with the joint. This is very weird. What happens if we just